Hey everyone, welcome back. So have you ever felt like wading through the world of supplements is kind of like navigating a jungle? So many options, it's tough to even know where to begin.
Right.
Well, we're going on a deep dive today to help clear some of that up, especially for you guys. We're going to be taking a close look at a YouTube video by Dr. Mark Hyman. He's pretty well known in the world of functional medicine,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
and he makes a pretty compelling case for why supplements are, well, maybe more essential than a lot of people realize.
One of the things that really jumped out at me right off the bat was this statistic. 95% of Americans are deficient in at least one essential nutrient. And that's not even talking about reaching some peak level of health. It's just about having enough to avoid serious, full-blown deficiency diseases.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, globally, we're talking over 2 billion people.
2 billion. Whoa. Okay, so before we go any further, I think it might be helpful to clarify what exactly we're talking about when we say macronutrients versus micronutrients,
Right.
just to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, for sure. So macronutrients, those are basically the things we need in larger quantities, right? So your carbs, your proteins, and fats.
Got it.
Micronutrients, on the other hand, well, those are the vitamins and minerals we need in smaller amounts. They're often the ones that kind of fly under the radar.
And it's interesting because Dr. Hyman points out that like a third of our DNA actually codes for these things called enzymes,
Mm.
which are like these tiny workers in our bodies doing all sorts of crucial tasks. And guess what? They need those micronutrients to function properly.
Right.
So even small deficiencies can throw a wrench in the whole system.
It's true. And that can lead to, all sorts of things. Fatigue, brain fog, a weaker immune system, you name it. Dr. Hyman calls these long latency deficiency diseases.
Long latency, what's that?
So basically, it means that the problems kind of develop gradually over time, not overnight.
Oh.
Like, think of it like a car that's running low on oil, you know? It might seem fine at first, but eventually the engine's going to start wearing down, and then boom, you've got some bigger problems on your hands.
I see. So it's not just about avoiding some sort of extreme, like, deficiency disease. It's about making sure our bodies are operating at their best, their optimal level.
Exactly. And Dr. Hyman goes on to explore some specific deficiencies that are surprisingly incredibly common. Like, for instance, iron deficiency. It affects a huge number of people globally.
You mentioned 25%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can lead to anemia, especially in kids.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's vitamin D. I mean, depending on how you define deficiency, you could be looking at somewhere between 80 to 95% of people being deficient.
80 to 95%. Are you serious?
Okay.
That's like almost everyone. Makes you wonder how many of us are walking around with some level of deficiency and don't even know it.
Right. And what's tricky is that the symptoms can be so subtle. Fatigue, mood swings, muscle weakness. We often just brush these things off as a normal part of life.
And I remember he mentioned magnesium too, didn't he? Something like 80% of people might not be getting enough for optimal health.
Yeah, magnesium is super interesting. It's involved in over 600 enzymatic reactions in our bodies. So it's not just one specific symptom to look out for, it's a whole cascade of potential issues.
600. Wow. Okay, so then how much of these nutrients do we actually need? I mean, isn't there like a recommended daily allowance or something?
Yeah, there is. But Dr. Hyman makes a really important distinction between the minimum amount you need to just avoid a full-blown deficiency disease and the amount you need to really thrive.
Okay, so there's a difference.
Yeah, he uses vitamin D as an example. He says you might need, get this, 10 to 100 times the minimum dose for optimal health.
10 to 100 times. Whoa. That's a massive difference. I guess that's where supplements come in, right?
Exactly. Dr. Hyman argues that it's honestly pretty difficult to get everything we need from diet alone, especially with, modern farming practices and how prevalent processed foods are these days.
Okay, but hold on a second. I know some doctors say that, if you're eating a healthy diet, you don't need supplements. What does Dr. Hyman say to that?
He actually addresses that directly. He points out that our soil is often depleted of nutrients, and honestly, a lot of us are living with constant stress, which further depletes our bodies.
So it's like we're fighting this uphill battle just to get the basics.
Exactly. And that's why he emphasizes the importance of testing, not guessing. Everyone is different. We all have unique needs.
Yeah, I think he even mentioned how, like, even in his own practice, a lot of his patients who are generally pretty health conscious were still deficient in key nutrients.
Yeah, 67% of them, to be exact.
Okay, so testing is key. But once you know what you're deficient in, what's next? Is that where Dr. Hyman's whole optimizing function philosophy comes in?
Absolutely. He's not against medication, but he sees supplements as a way to support our bodies, to help them work at their best. It's about providing your body with the tools it needs to thrive, not just mask symptoms.
So a proactive approach instead of a reactive one.
Exactly. He's all about tackling those underlying deficiencies that might be holding us back.
Makes sense. So let's get down to brass tacks. What are some of those essential supplements that Dr. Hyman recommends?
He suggests starting with a good quality multivitamin, vitamin D3, magnesium, omega-3s, and probably some probiotics.
Okay, those are the basics, but it's not like one size fits all, right?
Right. Your specific needs are going to depend on your test results and what you're trying to achieve.
And I think it's worth highlighting that Dr. Hyman is actually pretty critical of the supplement industry in general. He talks about how there's this lack of transparency and quality control.
Yeah, he really stresses how important it is to choose reputable brands. Look for things like third-party testing and GMP certification.
It's not just about grabbing any old supplement off the shelf. You've got to do your homework and make sure you're getting a high-quality product.
Absolutely. It's about being an informed consumer and taking control of your own health.
Well, I think that's a good place to pause for now. Let's take a break, and we'll come back to this in part 2. Okay, so we've covered some of the basics about nutrient deficiencies and why supplements might be, something to consider. But I'm curious, does Dr. Hyman delve into any specific nutrients and their roles in helping us achieve that optimal health?
He does. One he really emphasizes is omega-3 fatty acids, especially when it comes to brain health.
Omega-3s, yeah.
He points out that, our brains are about 60% fat, and a significant portion of that is omega-3s.
So if we're not getting enough, it's like our brains aren't exactly working with the best possible building blocks.
Precisely. And that can have a real impact on, a whole bunch of things. Mood, focus, memory, even our risk of cognitive decline as we age.
He did mention that vegans and vegetarians might need to be extra careful about their omega-3 intake, right?
Yes, absolutely. And anyone who's not eating fatty fish regularly, supplementation can be a good way to bridge that gap.
It makes sense.
Another nutrient he highlights is zinc, which apparently is super important for male fertility.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't really connected zinc with fertility before.
Yeah, it plays a key role in sperm motility, so definitely something to keep in mind if you're trying to conceive. But zinc is also important for other things like wound healing and immune function.
So it's kind of a multitasker in the body.
For sure. And then there's iodine. Crucial for thyroid health. Apparently, iodine deficiency is becoming more common, with people moving away from iodized salt.
Right.
And of course, without enough iodine, our bodies can't produce those thyroid hormones that are essential for regulating metabolism and energy levels.
Yeah, makes sense. So seaweed snacks, right? He mentioned those as a good source.
Yes, good source of iodine. But whether it's through diet or supplements, making sure you're getting adequate iodine is important.
Okay. Were there any other nutrients he highlighted?
Yes, he talked about selenium. It's another one that's super important for thyroid function. And it also plays a role in detoxification and immune health. Plus, it's a powerful antioxidant.
Oh, yeah, antioxidants. Those are the things that protect our cells from damage.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like rust-proofing for our bodies.
That's a great analogy. What's interesting about selenium is that it actually helps our body's main antioxidant, glutathione, work more effectively.
So it's not just about getting enough selenium on its own, but making sure we have the other nutrients it needs to actually do its job.
Exactly. And Dr. Hyman points out that selenium deficiency is actually pretty common, so supplementation is often necessary. He also addresses this common misconception about supplements, that they're only meant to prevent those really extreme deficiency diseases.
Right. It's like people think, well, if I'm not sick, why bother?
Exactly. But Dr. Hyman's argument is that, we need certain levels of these nutrients to actually thrive, not just avoid getting sick. It's about optimizing our health. And he makes this distinction between essential nutrients, the ones our bodies can't make on their own, and non-essential ones.
So essential nutrients are the ones we absolutely have to get from our diet or supplements.
Right. Things like omega-3s, vitamins A, C, D, E, and K, minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc.
Okay.
And then non-essential nutrients are the ones our bodies can actually produce themselves, although we might sometimes need a little extra support.
Got it. So he gives the example of protein, the only nutrient we need in large quantities. But even though our bodies can make some of the building blocks of protein, we still need to consume enough of it through our diet.
Yeah.
So even those quote-unquote non-essential nutrients are still pretty darn important.
Absolutely. And he says that even though our bodies can typically handle producing these non-essential nutrients, there are situations where supplementation might be beneficial.
I really appreciate how Dr. Hyman explains all of this stuff in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming.
Yeah, he's great at that, breaking down complex concepts and making them accessible. And he's a big advocate for personalized approach, acknowledging that, everybody's different, everyone has their own unique needs.
Right. And of course, he's not afraid to call out the flaws in the supplement industry. He really encourages people to be smart consumers.
Oh, absolutely. That's why he's so adamant about choosing high-quality supplements from reputable brands. Prioritize quality over price.
Speaking of which, we touched on his curated online store earlier. I'm curious, what made him decide to create that?
Well, it sounds like he was getting pretty frustrated with the lack of transparency and quality control in the industry as a whole, so he wanted to create a reliable resource for his patients and really anyone looking for high-quality products.
So it's like a way to take some of the guesswork out of choosing supplements.
Exactly. He's already done the research and vetted the products, so people can feel confident they're getting something that meets his standards.
That's great. But I'm sure he still encourages people to do their own research, right?
Absolutely. He's all about empowering people to be informed consumers and advocate for their own health. He even talks about, testing, not guessing when it comes to figuring out which supplements you actually need.
Right. So getting those nutrient levels tested is a good starting point. But what about the people who might be thinking, look, I'm not sick. I eat a pretty healthy diet. Do I really need to worry about all of this?
That's a really good question. And honestly, I think Dr. Hyman would say that supplements aren't just for people who are already sick. They can be a valuable tool for anyone who wants to optimize their health and potentially prevent problems down the road.
It's like investing in your future well-being.
Exactly. And, of course, at the end of the day, everyone has to make their own choices based on their individual needs and preferences. We're not here to tell anyone what to do, but rather to give them the information and insights to help them make informed decisions.
And I think it's important to reiterate that, supplements are just one piece of the puzzle. Dr. Hyman really emphasizes this holistic approach to health.
Absolutely. He talks about how important diet is, lifestyle, stress management, even things like connecting with nature and having a strong sense of community.
Right. It's about recognizing that health is about so much more than just what we put into our bodies.
And that leads into a really interesting question Dr. Hyman poses towards the end of his video. He asks, if supplements are about providing our bodies with the building blocks for optimal function, what other deficiencies in modern life might be holding us back?
Ooh, that's a good one. It really makes you think beyond just physical health, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's about taking into account our mental, emotional, even spiritual well-being.
I think we might have just stumbled upon the topic for our next deep dive. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's wrap this one up. Any final thoughts or takeaways you want to highlight for our listeners? That question about other deficiencies is really sticking with me.
Yeah.
But before we go too far down that road, I think let's bring it back to supplements for a minute, just to make sure our listeners walking away with the key takeaways here.
Definitely. I think one of the biggest ones is that nutrient deficiencies are way more common than people think, and they can really impact our health, even if we're not seeing these glaring symptoms.
Right. It's not just about preventing scurvy or rickets.
Exactly.
It's about making sure our bodies are working at their best, their full potential.
Totally.
And that brings us to another important point, that whole idea of testing, not guessing.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Hyman is so adamant about getting those nutrient levels checked instead of just randomly taking supplements.
Because what works for one person might not work for another.
Right. It's not one size fits all.
Okay, so we've talked about choosing high-quality supplements.
Yeah.
What are some red flags people should be on the lookout for?
Well, Dr. Hyman warns against those products making, outlandish claims or promising miracle cures if it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good advice for pretty much everything in life, I think.
He also stresses transparency, looking for companies that are willing to share where they source their ingredients, their manufacturing processes, their testing procedures.
Right. And he mentioned third-party testing and GMP certification, too.
Yes. Those are great indicators of quality.
Okay, so those are good things to look out for.
And remember, that's where Dr. Hyman's online store comes in.
Right.
It's a great starting point for people who just feel overwhelmed by all the options.
Totally. But I'm guessing he still wants people to do their own research, right? Not just blindly trust anything.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's all about being an informed consumer.
Taking ownership of your health journey.
Exactly.
And I think it's worth saying again that supplements are just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Dr. Hyman really hammers home that whole holistic approach to health.
Diet, lifestyle, stress management.
Yeah.
Even connecting with nature, having strong relationships.
It's like he's saying health is multifaceted, right?
Exactly.
And there's so many ways we can support ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, I keep thinking back to those other deficiencies he brought up.
Oh, right.
Nature deficiency, connection deficiency, sunshine deficiency.
It's like we're all a little deficient in something these days.
I know, right? It's like modern life is kind of designed to make us deficient.
But that's why these conversations are so important.
Mm.
It's about recognizing that health is more than just the physical.
Yeah.
There are so many ways to nourish ourselves.
I love that.
It's about creating a life that truly supports our well-being.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of supplements.
My pleasure.
I hope our listener found it insightful, maybe even empowering.
Me too.
And remember, the journey to optimal health is ongoing. So keep learning, keep experimenting, keep advocating for your own well-being.
Absolutely.